Nigel Farage has stuck the dagger in Starmer's cover-up game plan in a scathing rant on social media. In today's video, we will see what the Reform leader has said, whilst also going over all of the latest headlines from across the country. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and join our fast-growing community. Just a quick one to say we do have new One Keir t-shirts available on our website. Go to britishstand.com or check the link in the description. This morning, Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed mounting criticism over accusations of being involved in a Southport cover-up, following his admission that he had prior knowledge of key details surrounding the tragic attack. The controversy comes in the wake of his earlier acknowledgement that the British state had failed 3 young girls who were brutally murdered by Axel Ruder during a Taylor Swift dance class last summer. Speaking publicly, Starmer declared that Southport must mark a turning point, stating, "Southport must be a line in the sand," and promising that nothing will be off the table in this inquiry. He insisted the inquiry would lead to meaningful change, but acknowledged the public's frustration and skepticism. "I know people will be watching right now," he said, "and they'll be saying we've heard all this before. The promises, the sorrow, the inquiry that comes and goes, and the inability to change, frankly, has become the oxygen for wider conspiracy." Addressing allegations of his involvement in a cover-up, Starmer defended the work of public servants, emphasizing their crucial role in securing a guilty verdict. "I want to put on record that yesterday's guilty verdict only happened because hundreds, if not thousands, of dedicated public servants worked towards it, many of whom endured absolutely harrowing circumstances, particularly in the police and the Crown Prosecution Service. That is their job. They are brilliant at it." He went on to explain that while he was kept informed of key developments, including the discovery of ricin and terrorist materials in Ruder home, he was bound by the law to withhold that information to protect the integrity of the judicial process. "It was not my personal decision to withhold this information," he said, "any more than it was a journalist's personal decision not to print or write about it. That is the law of the land, and it is in place for the reasons I've set out, to protect the integrity of the system, and to ensure that the victims and their families get the justice they deserve." Starmer's comments are unlikely to quell the backlash, as questions continue to swirl over the government's role and its handling of the case. His pledge for change will now be under intense scrutiny as the public demands answers and accountability. Following this, Reform leader Nigel Farage had this to say: "The Prime Minister is once again hiding behind the contempt of court argument. This is simply untrue. The country needed to know the truth about this murderer and that he was known to the authorities. Even MPs were banned from asking questions about this man's background. Cover-up Keir convinces no one." This follows on from his video yesterday after the guilty plea. He said,
"In the wake of that horrendous murder of those 3 girls in Southport last summer, just 24 hours afterwards, there was a huge amount of speculation about who the suspected murderer was. I put out this video and I asked this basic question."
I have to say there are 1 or 2 questions. Was this guy being monitored by the security services? Some reports say he was, others less sure. I just wonder whether the truth is being withheld from us. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it is a fair and legitimate question.
So I asked the question, was he known to the authorities? No answer came from the police. No answer came from the Prime Minister. No answer came from the Home Secretary. And for daring to ask a question that the public deserved to know and should have known, and actually had they known, might have stopped much of the online speculation that led to rioting on the scale that we saw. No, nothing was forthcoming at all. I was even told I wasn't allowed to ask a question in the House of Commons about the identity of this man and whether he was known. Well, I was right all along. 3 times this young man was given to prevent. They clearly haven't acted correctly. It seems that other members of his family knew what his intentions were, and we have had one of the worst cover-ups I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. I was completely vilified for daring to ask these questions. This is 2-tier policing. This is 2-tier governmental approach to who lives in this country. It is an outrage, and I can tell you, actually, I'm angrier today than I've been at any point since those horrendous murders.
What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. In other news, experts are warning that petrol and diesel prices are likely to climb in the near future as filling stations across the UK start to hike costs. Through November and December last year, the price of Brent crude oil, one of the biggest determining factors in the price of petrol and diesel, remained steady between £58 and £61 per barrel. Despite the optimism at the end of the year that prices would remain steady or continue to fall, drivers could see costs at filling stations rise again. January has already seen a significant shift as Brent crude oil hit £66 per barrel earlier this week. This has sent shockwaves throughout the oil industry, especially as the US dollar strengthens against the British pound, dropping from £1.02 to £1. At present, a litre of petrol at the average filling station costs 137 pence, an increase of almost 1 penny compared to the start of the year. More worryingly, wholesale prices of diesel have surged by nearly 4 pence per litre. Experts from petrol prices note that there is usually a delay between wholesale increases and pump prices, meaning prices are likely to increase further over the coming days. Petrol prices warned, while some stations may temporarily absorb these cost increases, it's likely that pump prices, especially for diesel, will rise over the next 7 to 10 days. Data suggests that 4 times as many filling stations have increased unleaded petrol prices than have decreased them since the start of January. Similarly, a staggering 7 times as many fuel stations have hiked diesel prices compared to those who lowered costs over the last 2 weeks. Petrol prices added, the variation in pricing between stations has also increased. This is in part due to the differing times at which they adjust to rising wholesale costs. This is increasing the variability of pricing in local areas. Supermarkets have the added benefit of being able to set prices at more competitive levels, with drivers also able to make use of loyalty schemes and vouchers. Of the big 4 supermarkets, Tesco has held diesel prices steadily. It is now the cheapest among major retailers, despite starting the year as the most expensive. Asda forecourts have increased pump prices by an average of 0.6 pence per litre, making it the second most expensive supermarket for diesel. Morrisons has retained its position as offering the cheapest prices for unleaded E10 petrol, although the price cap between supermarkets has narrowed significantly. At the start of the year, Morrisons was half a penny cheaper per litre than Tesco on average, although this has since dropped to less than 0.2 pence. While the price of fuel is concerning for many, Labour is looking to roll out the Fuel Finder tool to help motorists find the cheapest prices in their local area. It is hoped that the tool will be rolled out before the end of the year, with budget documents estimating that it could save motorists between 1 and 6 pence per litre. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.